I got tagged a lot yesterday, so I'm wearing Canucks gear for this one because we're going to talk a little bit about Vancouver at the start of this. Because Andrew Walker tweeted out, "Hey, Peter Chiarelli might be joining the Canucks front office." To which Canuck fans go, "Andrew Walker, he doesn't know what he's talking about." But now there's other sources too. I believe it's Pierre LeBrun that said, "Yeah, there's been talk of it." So Peter Chiarelli did the Canucks. That's something that, of course, will make Canuck fans' heads explode collectively. And according to the amount of messages I got regarding this yesterday, it's either hilarious or it's horrific. Meaning, you don't cheer for the Canucks, it's hilarious. You cheer for the Canucks, it's horrific. I will say this. If they bring in Chiarelli and he's just a voice in the room, I don't really have a problem with it. What scares me, and I said this in the live stream last night, is the idea that Jim Benning could look at the structure of the team and a couple years from now or a year from now say, you know what? I've been talking to Francesco Aquilini, and we agree that we need to put somebody back into the spot that Trevor Linden vacated last year. So I'm going to take it. Or at that point, it'll be 2 years. That job nobody's had for 2 years. I'm going to take it. So we are promoting to the position of general manager Peter Chiarelli, at which point Canuck fans will rightfully lose their minds and wait for Brock Besser to get traded for somebody or other. Again, it's horrific if it were to go in that direction. But if this is simply Benning likes the guy and can deal with him and they work together in Boston, and Chiarelli had decent success in Boston. Again, I don't want him to have control over the roster. I don't want him to have any say in which players get traded and which ones they get traded for. As long as it's reasonable, I don't have a problem with him joining the team, but there will be a lot of people afraid, and I think rightfully so, that when you bring a guy into your organization that's been a general manager in multiple places, odds are he might be looking at the general manager of the team he's just joined and saying, eventually, that's the job I want. So, yeah. And also on Canucks-related items, they re-sign Edler, but yeah, the media is picking up on what any Canuck fan could have told them. They need more defense. There's been rumors of them going after Tyson Barrie, of them being very interested, of course, in Jake Gardiner and Tyler Myers. And watch for any defenseman in the league that wants top 4 minutes and thinks they deserve them, but they're not going to give them where they are. Or defenseman that a team feels they can't afford to pay or that they don't necessarily need that's become expendable during the summer. The Canucks are going to show up and go, we'll take them. So there's going to be a lot of talk about the Canucks, and rightfully so. That blue line really needs to be beefed up in order for me to legitimately come this summer when I'm doing my previews to say, yeah, these guys are going back to the playoffs. I want to see it because it's been a long time. But right now, with the way that defense is put together, I can't, in good conscience, say they're a playoff team. But they're not that far off. The problem is if you move a whole bunch of assets to bring in a defenseman, and then those assets turn out to be something you needed. Anyways, moving along. I'm convinced that Kyle Dubas is trolling the media at this point. I'm convinced of it. Dubas is too young and he's too smart not to be trolling the media at this stage. He says basically along the lines of, we won't necessarily match an offer sheet for Mitch Marner, which means you're trolling both the media and the fans. It has to be. It just has to be. And then he says that his reputation's beyond reproach, he being Mitch Marner. And really, in all honesty, I think stuff's going on with Toronto. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a move today or tomorrow. I think they'll make the space they need to under the cap, and they'll keep Marner. Marner's not going anywhere. It does mean that for some other guys on that roster to keep everything together in the core, they're going to have to jettison some of those depth players. And then Kyle Dubas will make his money this summer as a general manager, being able to fill those guys or fill those spots on the roster and keep the team competitive and near the top of the standings next year. Ryan Callahan, this is sad news. His career has been ended. And this kind of came out of nowhere. So Tampa, a team that's been talking about trading Callahan, Now they can't and won't unless they're just trading his rights somewhere else. But he's never going to play again. He has a degenerative back disease, which just sounds awful. So as bad as that sounds and as awful as that is, I wish all the best to him going forward. And for Tampa, they'll just put him on long-term injured reserve. You can be above the cap during the summer, so they don't have to worry about the cap until the regular season starts. And as soon as the regular season starts, he goes on long-term injured reserve. So it does free up some space for Tampa to play around with the roster a little bit. And it takes that one part we weren't sure about, was Callahan going to stay with the team or not. And at some point I'll do a video on Ryan Callahan and his career, that kind of thing. Florida. There's a lot of talk about Florida right now. And honestly, when you hire Coach Quenneville, and now they're expected to spend money, it's interesting. Bobrovsky has to love this. Because now it's his prime suitor would be Florida. He could get a mint out of the Florida Panthers because they're admitting, yeah, we're going to spend a lot of money this summer. And when was the last time we saw the Panthers do that? So the pressure is they've got a new coach. They're going to spend money. They have to make the playoffs. This is a disaster if a year from now we're talking about Florida missing the playoffs. So they have to make it. Thus, Bobrovsky may very well walk in and go, I want to start at 12.5. How does that sound? I was going to start at 10, but boy howdy, you guys are going to spend that money. I'm willing to help you spend it. So we'll see what kind of hardball he and his agent might play, or maybe not. Maybe he walks in and goes, you know what? Give me 9. I'll take 9, and you can take some of that money that you're not spending on me and go out and get somebody else. Maybe Panarin goes there with him. Maybe they sign twin deals, sort of like what Suter and Parise did when they went to the Minnesota Wild. So it's going to be a very interesting summer for Florida because unlike every year Florida's experienced since 1996, there isn't really an expectation. I say since 96 because when they went to the finals in 96, there was some expectation this team was going to be pretty darn good. Not a cup contender, but pretty darn good. And they haven't won a round since. So this is going to be the first time they've faced real pressure to, become relevant and to make the playoffs and to stir things up. And wouldn't it be nice to see both Tampa and Florida really good at the same time? That would kind of be nice. You're going to see this later today, and they're going to talk about it a lot. Dylan Cousins, when he gets drafted in the first round, he will be the first UConn-born first-round draft pick that the NHL's ever had. And so I'm doing preemptive congratulations to him on that. I'll do it during the live stream too in all likelihood. But that's kind of a big deal for him, for the UConn. And so I thought I'd throw that into the news of the day thing because that's going to happen later. And whether he goes as high as 4th or as low as 10th or wherever he goes in the draft, we'll see. Montreal Canadiens as well, not able to agree on an extension with Jordie Benn. Jordie Benn's going to free agency. I'm going to say this. I know there's people who don't like Jordie Benn and Ben's kind of useless and he's a third pairing defenseman. If you don't expect too much out of him, if you don't give him too many minutes, if you keep him in that third pairing, he's very effective. He's a good third pairing guy. And when Dallas moved him to Montreal, I was bewildered by it at the time and kind of still am. Because I didn't see him as being like this major problem in Dallas. He was a whipping boy in Dallas. Every team has one. Every fan base will pick a player usually that we've decided together we aren't, supporting that. It's all his fault we're where we're at. It's the Toby Reeder Award, right? And going back to Vancouver, Pouliot was that this year, Goldobin or Schaller. There were numerous options given the night, but those would be your picks. Jordie Benn's going to be a solid third pairing defenseman wherever he ends up, and we'll see where he goes. But there's going to be a shallow pool of talent when it comes to the blue line when we get to July 1st, because since I did the video on the shallow pool of talent, both Coburn and Edler have re-signed where they were, so that removes them from the picture. It is going to be a lot less talent on the blue line. So if your team's looking to fix things, Jordie Benn might end up becoming part of the solution. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And if you're a Canuck fan and Chiarelli gets named to be any part of the organization, how are you going to feel about that? Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.